You know, I'm just trying to take a burden off your hands. All right, T.
Yeah, yeah.
Higgins.
My
T.
guy.
Higgins. Okay, so
If you ever,
can I put a
if you
disclaimer at the top of this?
go ahead.
I love the talent. That's my disclaimer.
Okay.
I love the talent, but talent only gets you so far when the quarterback's best friend's on your team. T. Higgins to me kind of has the same upside as Allen Robinson, and you can get Allen Robinson a full round or 2 rounds later. So I'm gonna just do a little preface there and let you tell everybody why you love him at ADP right now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, so last season, even with Burrow's best friend on the field, Higgins had more targets, more yards, um, more receptions than Chase on a game per game basis when they were both on the field together. Obviously, Higgins missed some time, so Chase got some freebies there when he wasn't really attracting the same looks. But obviously, Tyler Boyd had some good games there too. My biggest thing is for what you're paying for Higgins versus what you're paying for Chase. I want a piece of that offense, right? I want a piece of that passing attack. So I want the cheaper piece, kind of like you said with the running backs in New England. Give me the cheaper piece because who knows, right? The biggest thing for me last year, obviously Chase was elite. He had so many big play touchdowns. T. Higgins is really the look come the red zone, come the scoring zones. So of those, I think there was 6 or 7 that were like 40-yard plus touchdowns. So if even half of those go away, that's probably 3 more touchdowns to T. Higgins. All of a sudden, that's another 18 points, another 3 catches, whatever, 20 points. 20 points is a lot in a season. It bumps you up from what did he finish last year? Like wide receiver 14 or something like that?
Mm-hmm. No, 17. Water. It depends, right? If you're so
Well,
in
yeah.
standard, he was 17. PPR, he was wide receiver 24.
Okay, so but missing games. So
Missed
but yeah.
games.
So you add 30 points there. All of a sudden, he bumps up and he's a high end wide receiver too, which is what I expect him to be. I expect them both to like meet in the middle a little bit. I could very well see them both being wide receiver ones this year. Like Chase, I expect to be a wide receiver one, and I think there is an avenue there for Higgins to be, if not wide receiver 12, be like 14 or 15, and I think we spoke a little off camera. Your argument around Pittman around the same price, fair enough. I like that. The difference is, and I know you like to say touchdown dependent, whatever, but at the end of the day, touchdowns will win you weeks. They will win you championships. So if I have a guy who's also a volume play, and I think Higgins proved on multiple occasions last season he's a volume play too, then let me get the touchdown upside that maybe a Pittman doesn't have, or maybe a Deontay Johnson doesn't have, that they're going to be at 6 or 7, whereas Higgins could be 14. I could very well see him getting 14 touchdowns this season. Yeah. So that's why, I mean, like you say, the talent is unarguable. That offense is elite. So I just want a piece of it. So if you're not going to go Mixon, and I'm not sure how I sit on Mixon, but you're going to have to take one of them in the first round, Mixon or Chase. I'd much rather spread a little bit and then pick somebody else and then get Higgins a few rounds later.
So here's my thing with Higgins, right? And the running joke last year that he's mentioning, and I would hate to say it's a joke, even though he probably already knew it, was that Higgins was touchdown dependent. I was trying to trade for the guy, and we like to do this thing back and forth, right? He knew I valued him because I was coming for him. But he did, after the first 2 weeks he had the injury, he didn't score another touchdown again until week 12, right? So, I mean, that was a thing, and he never had more than, even in PPR, never had more than 13 and a half points in that stretch. So, my thing there is, when you're drafting a guy that high, you need him to have week winning potential for you, and great, he was steady Eddie, but he wasn't winning you weeks with that production.
I mean, he won you a championship though. If you had your final in week 16.
I mean, yeah, for sure. So again, I'm talking about that stretch though, but you got to make it in the playoff first.
No, yeah.
My thing with Higgins is he quite possibly this year could be the highest ever drafted wide receiver 2 in an offense, unless you are going out on a limb and saying he's the wide receiver 1 in that offense, which I think is a hot take. Now, could he have comparable numbers? Maybe. But you mentioned the numbers last year. By God, he should have had better numbers last year. Chase was a rookie. And at the point that the quote-unquote rookie wall is supposed to hit, Higgins started having better numbers. Chase isn't a rookie anymore. And I think a second-year jump is very possible. Who does that impact? I do think Boyd takes a step back, so I don't know if it fully impacts Higgins. But this is a guy who's about to be the highest drafted wide receiver 2 in redraft leagues, maybe ever. I think the only comparison you might be able to make is Godwin a few years ago. He was being drafted like late into the second, early third, somewhat, and he was probably the wide receiver 2 on that offense. But there was an argument at that point that he was becoming the wide receiver 1 over Mike Evans. Mike Evans, small note, is probably one of the most disrespected guys in drafts every year. He just keeps putting up wide receiver 1 seasons, right? So
yeah, for sure.
I guess that's my thing. Is when I look at this list, I can have so many guys that are wide receiver 1s on their team that have potential to outscore him so many rounds later. And not even, so Pittman's right behind him, so that's not really a fair argument because that's probably a coin flip for some people. But when I look at guys like, okay, and I know you're not high on McLaurin this year, but McLaurin's going to be the wide receiver 1 in his offense. No questions asked.
Carson Wentz. Move on.
Michael Pittman last year with Carson Wentz. You want to move on? Because he had a good season last year.
Wasn't a wide receiver 1, though.
No, but neither was Chase. I mean, neither was Higgins.
Correct.
So, again, I can get him later. DJ Moore, later. Again, quarterback situation, completely understand, but the volume's going to be there for DJ Moore to win you weeks. Mike Williams, although not the wide receiver 1 on his team, I would say Keenan Allen's still that guy. Mike Williams is going a full round and a half later, sometimes 2 rounds later. Cortland Sutton, Allen Robinson. I think all of these guys can outscore Higgins this year. And I think if you draft Higgins at his ADP right now, you need everything to go right. And again, that's just drafting guys at their ceiling. I'm going to do that in the first round. But as I go down the list, I want to make sure I'm not doing that. And so that's why at ADP currently, not a knock on the player. Absolutely, I think could be a wide receiver 2 this year. But I think I can get guys that have wide receiver 1 upside over him later in the draft. I think. So let me preface this. I think Darnell Mooney has a clearer path to having a better season than T. Higgins. And it's strictly from a volume. Darnell Mooney's going to get 30 to 40 more targets than Higgins this year. He nearly did last year.
Right, but it's about the value of those targets, right? So, like,
absolutely, but
I
think
like Darnell Mooney.
Yeah,
but
so
I would be very, very, very surprised if he finished above T. Higgins for the season.
But, so I guess my thing is, it's kind of the same reason we fade quarterbacks a lot of the times. It's like, is the difference 4 or 5 rounds different? Or is it 3 rounds different? I think it's closer to 1 round to 2 rounds different, but you get to draft them 3 rounds later. That's kind of where I'm at with it. That's why a lot of people that play fantasy for a while, and some people draft quarterback early. I've done it. I try to mix it up, but I know you're a guy that drafts quarterback late, and it's because, okay, I may have the quarterback 12, but he's only going to score 30 points less than the quarterback 2 or 3 or whatever it is. So I guess it's that type of thing for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, with regards to that argument, it makes a little sense. Like, I prefer to have consistent players, and then I want to get the dart throws like super late or even off waivers, right? So,
yeah,
like last year, I mean, he didn't play, but I drafted a lot of Trey Lance last year, assuming he may get the job halfway through the season, and he would be, a high upside guy that cost me nothing, right? But like early on, I'm not much of a risk taker, so I want a guy on good offenses with good volume, whether that be, I don't care if you're the wide receiver 2, if on your offense, if your offense is elite If your offense is the best, you want to talk about number 1 and 2 receivers in the same offense. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, both going in the first round for 3 or 4 years back to back to back to back, and they paid out every single time. Because why did Patrick Mahomes have to pass to anybody else? He didn't, because they were both one of them was open at all times.
Yeah.
I see a very similar situation in Cincinnati this year. He's not going to throw it to his tight ends. Why does he need to?
Are you projecting him to be a wide receiver 1 this year then? Are you projecting Higgins finish as a wide receiver 1?
Close.
Okay.
He could. Think for me,
have a career year.
For me, I think he's more likely to finish in the 12 to 16 range, which I'm more than happy to have that, because I think, and at that range, I can go 2 elite running backs in the first couple rounds, and then get T. Higgins, and then just stack like some consistent guys. I've won so many leagues by having all my wide receivers be just volume monsters, getting me 13 points every week.
Yeah.
And they're just stacking points. I'd rather have that than have a Tyreek Hill that has 40 points one week, 3 points the next week, 37 points the next week, 1 point. Then I'm like, I don't want that. Like, I want 15 to 16 points every. Correct. Exactly. Like, I want 15 to 16 points every single week. And if there's some spike weeks, bonus. But like you said, he had a stretch of 6 games or 7 games with no touchdowns where he was right in 13 points per game range with no touchdowns. And that was because, correct. And that was because Chase was getting all the attention. As a rookie, people were probably not as high on him as far as defensive adjustments. This season, he's going to get a lot more attention, which will open softer zones for T. Higgins. And I'm sorry, but like, T. Higgins is going to beat 90% of coverage because he's just a monster. So if you give him single coverage all game, he's going to eat. So I think, I don't think it's a bad argument, but I'd rather have the consistency of a guy like him versus the upside of a guy like Jalen Waddle or Devonta Smith a little bit later, because I don't know what they're going to do week to week. So that's where I'm at with T.
Fair arguments. All I know is we are all excited for redraft season now. We've been going with Dynasty, but now drafts are starting up. If your team drafted redraft 3 weeks ago, I'm sorry.